Miss Vanaja a very happy birthday. So, today I wanted to start off with the topic named unfinished, and the points that most of us might think are like we often as humans lose hope in our career, education, life goals. Moreover, sometimes when things that we wish and we ask God do not happen, we lose hope in God sometimes, and we make ourselves feel as a failure when we don't accomplish some very simple things in life, and moreover we lose faith and tend to drift away from God. But this is what the Lord says in Philippians 1:6. He started a good work in you, will be faithful to complete it. We need not give hope because God did not say He started a bad work in us, but He did say that He started a good work. And we need to trust in God's timing because we need God in every step of our life. We cannot go ahead and do what our will is, and we need to be patient enough to see the beauty of His plan in our lives, because at this point of time everything is stagnant. Some jobs, some of our courses which we have taken, some of our dreams which we had planned this year has come to a stop. But we did not worry about it because God is faithful enough to complete it in us. And while He is at that, doing His work, we need to trust in the process and be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. This is what is written in Romans 12:12. We need not go ahead of God's plan, because we need to be joyful in the time we have now. We must be patient in the times of trouble, like during this pandemic, and we must be faithful because God Himself is faithful. And moreover, we need to have patience because God isn't finished yet. We aren't planned. I mean, we are not patient enough to see what's God has planned. We tend to think that if nothing is happening, we are not pray. God is not listening to our prayers enough. God is not seeing our desires and looking and telling us that to continue. We don't have the patience. When things come to a stop, we feel that it is a stop for our whole world, and everything is just crashing down. But we need to be patient because God is still continuing a good work. If God could create a flower and in its bud stage only, we cannot hope for the flower to bloom, and because it has its own time period, we don't need to see the flower bloom before its time, because it would have, if we try to open a flower, it would die and it won't be beautiful as it was destined to be. So when we go ahead of God's plan in our life, we might tend to lose track on everything. So I say that we need to have patience in every step that we are doing, because we are also like flower, and we need our we have our own drawbacks, and we have to keep ourselves in God's plan. And we like in Romans 12:12, we must be joyful in hope and patient in affliction and faithful in prayer. This is our duty. God is doing His duty, but we also have our duty to play in this world. So we must also be patient enough to see that. These are some men in the Bible: Noah, Abraham, David, Jonah, and Joseph. If Noah hadn't had the patience and did not hope that God would keep him and his family safe, and if he had if he did not believe and did not build that big ark, his family and he wouldn't have survived the great flood. because he trusted in God and trusted in the time, and he obeyed God. He was faithful enough to continue what God had told him. He and his family were saved from the great flood. Abraham waited nearly 100 years to just receive a son from God, and God even promised him that he would become the father of many nations. David was just a shepherd boy, and he was just a boy who used a stone to kill a giant, and he did face a lot of problems with Saul. But one day, God did not forget him, but he did. David did become a king over the land. Jonah, well, he actually did not go according to what God did, but God kept him alive in the whale's stomach. And it is impossible for a person to be alive in some other organism's body. So God has kept him. God had kept Jonah safe, and God wanted to fulfill His plan in Jonah's life, as well as in Joseph's life. The same thing when. Joseph must have lost hope when his brothers threw him in the pit and then sold him to the Ishmaelites. But God had a bigger plan for him in Egypt, to be in a great post to the Pharaoh. God didn't just use men; He used women as well, like Esther and Ruth, for His kingdom. And it is such a blessing to see how these people were patient in God's time, and uh, because these people believed and trusted and did not question God, they were able to see what God had planned for them in their lives. So we must be patient and trusting God's timing, because we have a plan and purpose, and we are still unfinished in God's time, in God's hands, and we are yet to go a long way. And God has a lot of unfinished business with us. He is not done with us, and we are not also done with him. We tend to lose hope in many things in this world, and we tend to feel that we are unloved, we are we are invalid, we don't have a place in this world. But the Lord says in Philippians chapter 1 verse 6 that He's not done with us. So we have a lot of unfinished business with God. But the question is, do you have any unfinished business with God? Have you not asked Him for forgiveness? Have you not thanked Him for what He has provided, especially during this pandemic? If there was a day that you could go, was there a day that you went hungry during this time of pandemic? Was there something that was not given to you that you have not thanked Him for? Have you asked Him to be your best friend? Have you trusted in whatever He's planned in you? We have a lot of unfinished business with God, and so does He in us. Today's points: we need to trust in we need to trust in the process that God is up to something great in our lives. Be patient and wait upon His time. And God has a lot of unfinished, and we as well have a lot of unfinished business with God. And so I want to say thank you for listening to me.